4 responsibilities of a coach in sport, Section 2. Being a coach, you have lots of responsibilities, one of which would be legal obligations. Moral or legal obligations to ensure safety of others would be one, because it's the coach's job to make sure that the participants don't come to any harm. Also, coaches must have a certain level of qualification at the required level for the sport they're teaching, so they know exactly what to do during the sport. And if they teach children, they have to be aware of their safety, even more so because they might not understand it as well, because the participant safety is in the coach's hands. Also, there has to be emergency contacts given to the coach, so the coach knows who to call during an emergency, and they must have first aid training in case something went wrong or in case they needed it. They have a duty of care to the participants, and they have to know how to act during them and how to take care of them especially. Also, coaches must have boundaries set in place between them and the participants. This is especially true for when coaches are teaching younger children, because the children don't really understand that much about boundaries and they just think they're being friendly. Also, on a site, there must be a child protection welfare officer who makes sure everything's okay and all good, and if there's any problems that the coaches spot, they can go to their appointed officer. Also, there must be certain ratios and levels of sport, like in football, for instance, it can be a larger ratio to amount of participants than one coach. But in dangerous sports such as canoeing and javelin, there has to be a certain ratio to the number of coaches, because you need more in case something went wrong and so you can get to the people quicker. One example of how to act during it would be to make sure everything was good, okay, and check all the equipment beforehand. A legal obligation in skiing would be to make sure the participants know somewhat about what they're doing and have time to see what they're doing and how to act. Health and safety is another responsibility, because the club has a responsibility for the health and safety of people who visit, work, or are affected by the club's activities. This means that they have to make sure everyone's safe and that no one's getting injured, and there's no tools on the site that are going to injure anyone. The people affected by it would be the players and the competitors that people play against, also any volunteers that go there and the staff, because they have to be all knowing of what to do. Also, the members and the supporters should be all safe, as well as parents and visitors who come to collect their children or see how they're doing in a competition, and competition support staff should also be safe. Health and safety is a big part because you need certain qualifications into how to act, how to do it. Also, first aid training would be needed and could come in useful in certain situations. The coaches also must know how to use the equipment properly and how to set it up without causing any injuries to the participant. There also must be good communication between the participant and the coach, because if something is miscommunicated, there might be a cause that makes it unsafe for someone. There also must be risk assessments for what you're doing. Like in a sport such as football, you'd need to risk assess everything that could go wrong and figure out a solution and how it could go wrong. For instance, something that could happen in football would be that the goals might collapse. And way around it would be to check the equipment beforehand, then check the weather so that if it's windy, you would have to be extra careful and safe. So those would be the one of the things in a risk assessment for sports such as football. You also must plan your lesson ahead of time to check out any safety issues, set up equipment, make sure nothing could go wrong in a sense with any of the participants. And negligence is also a big part, because you want to make sure you're not causing anything bad to happen to them, and that you're not neglecting the people and you're spending enough time with all of them, make sure they're safe and they're cared for and they feel all right. Professional conduct is another important part. This is the morals and ethics and of standards of how you should behave in the sport and how you should behave towards the people. A coach's role is to promote honesty and fair play to the participants and how they should act, and they should be honest and they should not cheat or do something that could affect the other teams playing. A coach also must respect athletes of all ability and give everyone equal rights in what they're doing, and people that aren't as good, they should help them and train them a bit more to catch up. They should also have the appropriate qualifications for the activity, again, making sure they know exactly what to do, how to do it, and everything else. They should also be prepared for a training session, so not promote being late and unprepared, because that would be extremely bad for the athlete. So they must know what they're doing, give clear instructions. They also must make sure that athletes have integrity and good morals and principles and how to conduct themselves. One example would be in a sport such as tennis, would be to respect what the umpire is saying and not to go up to the umpire and disagree with what they're saying in front of your student, because that would not be professional at all and would not promote good morals and integrity, because they're doing the wrong thing. Equal opportunity is another important responsibility of a coach. This is because you should not discriminate against people with different things to you, such as disabilities, gender, economic situation, ability, sexuality, ethnicity, and religion. And also, the same amount of money should go into male and female sports. Example, football, more money would go into male football than it does female, and that does not give an equal opportunity for both teams because it raises the importance of male football and diminishes female football because not the same amount of money is going into them, so it's not equal. Also, equal opportunity could be given in lots of ways, and the laws can change constantly, and so can rules. So you must keep them up to date. And also, gender stereotypes is another thing because there's basketball, for instance, and netball. It's normally assumed that males play more basketball and females do netball. This is because of gender stereotypes, and that should not be discriminated against. It should be equal because girls play basketball and boys can play netball as well. Also, the coaches must make sure that they don't sway more towards one person because they prefer them to another because they're more like them. They must make sure it's all equal and nothing's uneven and unfair. Another point would be giving equal opportunity to an opposing team by not being rude to them as they come in or anything else just because they don't play the same way as you or anything. Then equal opportunity is really important for the coach to agree on as well. As referees, because they should not favour one team to another. They think of it all equally and give points to the people who deserve it for what they're doing.